Hello, welcome, good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you're joining us from. You're very welcome to our third Startup Women webinar of 2023, Content Marketing Through Storytelling. I'm Isabel Nolan, the Acting Program Manager of the Startup Women and Startup Global programs at Startup Canada. So to begin, although I'm currently calling in from Ireland, I would like to acknowledge that the land on which Startup Canada was founded is located on the unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation. Also acknowledge with respect the diverse histories and cultures of all Indigenous peoples. And I encourage you to take a moment to acknowledge the traditional territory that you're residing on today. We welcome you all to connect with each other in the chat. Make sure you're sending messages to everyone in the room. Zoom defaults it so that you're only sending it to hosts and panelists. So just make sure that you adjust it so that you're talking to everyone. Today's session is being recorded and we'll add it to our YouTube channel afterwards as a living resource. So a little bit about Startup Canada. We are a national nonprofit that is the gateway to Canada's entrepreneurial ecosystem. We're here to connect entrepreneurs with the support community and tools that they need to build a successful business in Canada and beyond. Since launching in 2012, Startup Canada has grown to support more than 130,000 entrepreneurs annually, an ever-growing community of ecosystem partners from coast to coast to coast. Dedicating to showing up for women all year round, Startup Women is an annual program offering support to early stage women identifying entrepreneurs across Canada. Through topic-focused webinars, industry advisory circles, and one-on-one meetings with Startup Women leaders. We know that when you support women, you support a nation. So to get us started, we have a short message from one of our co-presenting partners, the Scotiabank Women Initiative.
The Scotiabank Women Initiative is dedicated to your success on your terms.
I'm shaping our industry's vision for the future.
I can expand my business without borrowing from my family.
I know I can face anything thanks to my network.
I'm ready for my next chapter.
I'm inspiring future leaders.
I'm making sure my family's future is secure.
Define your success.
Oh, there seems to be a little bit of a lag on the video. Okay, I might stop the sharing and we'll continue with our opening remarks. Tech difficulties as always, but nevertheless, thank you so much to Scotiabank Women's Initiative for supporting our program. I'd also like to give a massive thank you to our other co-presenting partner, UPS. And we also have an array of program partners, including EDC, Mastercard, and an even longer list of ecosystem partners, including BDC and WEKH. We're going to put in a full list of who those ecosystem partners are into the chat. So today's conversation will focus all around content marketing. So all the do's and don'ts, tips and tricks, how to better understand who your audience is and how you can create the right content for them, and ultimately drive growth for your business. We have some questions prepared for our panelists. However, if you have a question yourself, you can use it, the Q&A box at the bottom function bar on your screen, or you can put it into the chat and we'll do our best to answer it live for you. So without further ado, I'm honored to introduce you to today's speakers. We have Lindsay Johnson, founder of Fantastical, Faddy, and the Radical Connector, Kathryn LeBlanc, Principal Consultant at LeBlanc Communications, and Mariam Zohouri, writer, organic content marketer, and founder of MZ Consulting. Welcome, speakers. Thank you so much for joining today's discussion. And we're going to dive straight into it, but I'd love to give each of you some space to provide a brief introduction of yourself and a little bit about what you do. Lindsay, I can pass it to you first.
Fantastic. Hi, everybody. Excited to be here. Thank you so much, Isabel and Startup, for bringing me on to talk about my favorite topic, which is storytelling, whether that is through the written word or through video. I have been teaching entrepreneurs how to get a business started, how to get clients and make money for well over 20 years. My focus is on digital marketing and consent-based sales systems. I've created my own work less, play more system that I've developed over a lifetime, really, of understanding how customers buy and how we attract in the people who were already looking for someone like us by letting them know we exist, speaking in their language, and then co-creating the sales journey with them. The whole focus of what I do is getting people to stop doing busy work, doing things that don't matter, focus on the skills that will get your business growing so you can outsource all the boring work and get back to having a life. So very delighted to be here.
Thank you, Lindsay. Mariam, I'll go to you next.
Hi, everyone. Also just want to say I get so pumped whenever I hear Lindsay talk. So this is going to be great. It's so great to be here. Thank you, Startup Canada, again, for putting us all together. I have spent the last 10 years supporting leaders, organizations, and businesses in developing stories that actually resonate in a meaningful way with their audience. So particularly looking at how an audience's pain points align with the benefits that a business, organization, or leader can connect them with. The way I like to frame the work that I do is that a lot of people are changing other people's lives, but those people aren't getting the message. So that's where I help. I use bold human storytelling. My focus is in organic content marketing, and I'll get into the definitions of that later. But my main goal with the writing that I develop and the content that I develop is developing trust with your audience, articulating and showing them really clearly what your value is, and making you a resource or one-stop shop that they go back to whenever they think of that problem that you're trying to solve. So I hope that by the end of the session, you'll feel a bit more confident doing that.
Thank you so much, Mariam. And Kathryn.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kathryn, and I'm the founder of a small communications consulting firm supporting nonprofits called LeBlanc & Co. Communications. I never thought I would be an entrepreneur. I never thought that I would be here today. I come deep from the nonprofit, social impact, progressive politics side of things. But after years of building my career and supporting people doing social good through helping them build stronger communication strategies, I looked around and I noticed just this extent to which people need help in telling their stories in order to help promote their nonprofits. That's the side of things that I fall myself, it would fall in. And from that, I started my own company about 1.5 years ago. And now I help nonprofits build stronger communication strategies through strategy development and training. I have a roster of clients in Canada and internationally. And as I have found out, yes, in fact, people do need help with developing their communication strategy. While I sit more on the social impact nonprofit side of things, running my own business, I have to a very high level used content marketing, which we'll talk about a little bit more detail what I've followed in order to help build trust, authority, and it's a bit of a cheesy word, but let's use it anyway, thought leadership within my space. So I'm so excited to be here, and it's just a pleasure to connect and talk about storytelling with Startup Canada.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Yeah, delighted to have the three of you here today. Got an excellent roundup of speakers, so attendees, you'll be learning a lot. I hope you are taking some notes already. So to ensure that all of our attendees are coming into this conversation with, a level understanding of this topic, I wanted to ask if you can briefly define what is content marketing. Mariam, maybe I can go to you first.
Yeah, so I'm sure if you Google it, you're going to find a bunch of definitions about this subject. But for me, and the understanding that I've developed over the years of my work is content marketing is really about creating and distributing content that's actually valuable and relevant to your audience, and that it builds trust with them and increases engagement, whether that's on a specific platform, getting them to sign up for a newsletter, or driving more action. The thing with content marketing is it's usually helping your audience solve a problem, learning something new, and depending on the kind of vibe your brand is going for, it can be entertaining. The crux of it is it helps you develop and deepen a more emotional relationship with your audience. So where paid advertising really has a clear outcome with that content, where it's like we're putting out an ad and we're measuring its success based on how many clicks it drives to our website or how many sales we generate from it. With content marketing, you might not see that immediate impact, but long-term, you're developing trust with your audience so that over time, like I mentioned earlier, they're going to come to you if they're looking to solve that problem that you've developed. And it comes with developing a lot of content. So if someone Googles a problem, they might not have even heard your business, but then they're going to go to your blog, they're going to find that solution, and they're going to think of you.
Amazing. Thank you, Mariam. Lindsay, anything you want to add to that definition?
I mean, mic drop. So the only thing that I'm not even going to add, I'm going to add, it's a cherry on top, everything that Mariam said. And then I really like to really simplify things. Content marketing is how you let your customer know you exist. That is it. And so, right, like that is it. And so reaction. So when I'm teaching folks how to get customers, because again, my specialty is business development. How do I get customers? I teach 4 fast and free revenue generating activities, things that we do that don't cost us anything and can work quickly. Content marketing is on that list, but it's actually number 4 because, as Mariam said, it can be a bit of a long game, and mostly because you need to understand your client to be able to speak in their language and to create content they care about. And so I'm just going to say everything Mariam said. Content marketing is about knowing, or it's about letting your customer know you exist, and remembering that it can be a long game. And so there are other things we need to do outside of that if we're new, to get in front of the right people and get that data, like get that market research, that input of how to speak about topics in a way that people care about.
Amazing. Love the snaps, Mariam. Kathryn, do you want to add anything to that?
I think that sums it up great.
I wrote down that quote, Lindsay: content marketing is how you let your audience know you exist. Absolutely. And kind of keeping onto you, Lindsay. So I'm a follower of your TikToks and your Reels, and you put up so many nuggets of gold with your content. You said in one of them, it doesn't matter how long you've been working at something, if you're not doing the right thing, time doesn't matter. So I'm curious, what are some of the biggest mistakes that you see business owners making when they're creating content?
Yes, that quote came from a conversation I had with somebody who had been in business for 5 years and was frustrated that they weren't making money. They weren't making more than maybe $500 a month max. And they didn't understand why, because they had been in business for 5 years. And that's really where that quote came from. And that is a hard pill for entrepreneurs to swallow. They think that time in the business counts, and it doesn't if you're not doing the right activities. So doing the right activities, your job as an entrepreneur is really to understand what works to turn strangers into happy paying customers. That is like your number one job as an entrepreneur. And that can take a few years for sure, right? But we get so wrapped up in creating all these different pieces, like products and programs and courses and content and blogs and podcasts and YouTubes and TikToks and Instagram. We get so caught up in creating, but we're not actually getting right in front of talking to I call them our PPCs, not pay-per-click, our perfect potential customers. We're not getting in front of them and having conversations. We're not going to online or in real life networking events where our customers will be and talking. We're not having these Zoom calls or phone calls. We're not diving into social media, but really look at what they're asking and what they're needing, right? And so we need to figure out as quickly as possible who our audience is, where they are, what they want, and then know the flow that takes them from stranger to happy paying customer. That's a part of my Work Less, Play More system. That's the sales flow. It's interesting because on TikTok, I've been playing on TikTok with Fantastical Fatty for the past year, and it's been a complete deviation from the Radical Connector. It's been in the fat joy activism space, fat liberation space, and it's been really interesting to not have it tied to a business and really play with what kind of content is working. But over on the Radical Connector, I have 500 followers. I had for TikTok, I've got nothing. But it's amazing how 1 or 2 videos can absolutely convert business. But it's not because I have some magical whatever that I can get business at such a low follower count. Is because I've got 10 years into my business. So I know what kind of content hits. I know what kind of phrasing to use. So just keeping in mind that is your number one goal, to figure out what works to grab people to speak their language, and then understand that buying journey, that customer journey that gets them in the door.
Thank you. Yeah. And Mariam, I appreciate that you talked about that, this isn't something that, overnight you're going to see some growth from. It's really something that you have to put in the time for. And, it's a longer road, if you will. So I when we're talking about bringing in, or rather creating content to then help with sales, driving, sorry, my brain just shut off there for a moment. As I said, I'm in Ireland. I'm still getting over my jet lag. I'm typically based in Vancouver, so sorry about that. So we're talking about creating content really to drive growth for your business and drive sales. And there has to be a balance, between telling a compelling brand story and then avoiding the over salesy promotional tone. So how do you strike that balance when creating the content? Mariam, maybe go to you first.
Yeah, I think this is a great question. And I do think for a lot of entrepreneurs, as they're starting out, they always worry about whether, am I pushing too hard? And unfortunately, with a lot of women too, we're like, I don't want to seem pushy. Like, if people like this, I'm going to build the business and they will come. So one thing is, or the most important thing that I think can help people not think that way and be confident that they're developing something that's valuable to your audience. And this is a point I'm going to reinforce a few times, is to start with your audience. So have you gotten to know them? Like, what are their pain points? Why would they come to your business for help? What are they looking for help for? And then when you have that information, whether that's from data, whether that's from calls that you've had with your customers, whether that's from testimonials you found online from your competition, you then know that you're building something and you're writing content and you're telling a story that resonates with them. And with that in mind too, you also want to use the same language that they're using, which again can come from customer calls. If you don't have customers and you're just starting and you think of yourself as the target audience, it's okay to start with yourself too and think of, well, how did I talk about this problem before? How am I talking about it now? Because then when you're creating content, yeah, you're selling something. Like, yes, you are selling something, acknowledge that, own that. That doesn't make you bad, but you're selling something that's filling a need for your audience. And that's a thing I really reiterate a lot. And I try to get my clients to reframe how they're thinking of their value proposition, so it makes their business valuable, is how are you filling the pain point for your audience? And when you're talking about your business, you want to talk about it in those terms, not about like, oh, we're so great because we have this like next generation technology, or because all of our products are made locally. Why does that matter to your audience? Is it because they're socially conscious? So are you helping them achieve their goals in that way? Is it because it allows them to save time? Is it because it helps them support other women in their community? You want to think about things in that way. And then what you're pitching and what you're selling is you're actually making their lives easier. So you want to keep that in mind. And I don't think that's an overly cheesy thing that I'm saying to try to brainwash you and to think that this is okay. That is what you're doing. That's why you're building a business. It's to help your audience because you're developing a solution that you didn't think was there. I have a feeling that's why 99% of us started our business too, is because we were building something that we could have used, but it didn't exist. So we brought it to life. So remember that.
Would you think it's fair to say, like, to anchor it more into your why and kind of lean into that a little bit more?
Absolutely. And with anchoring it in your why too, there might be, again, a language that you might use for why this business exists, but you always want to tie your why back to your audience. And that might change over time. Like over the course of the height of the pandemic, there might have been different reasons why someone might have sought out your business than they're going to be seeking it out now. In a particular season, there might be a reason why someone is seeking out your business than they were at a different time too. So always having that core why for sure, Isabel, that's a really good point. And then for content marketing specifically, there's two pieces of it where you're going to be thinking evergreen content. So the content that's going to be relevant all the time, which has to do with your why, which has to do with your brand pillars, which has to do with the unique value your business is bringing. And then there's seasonal pieces. So is there, like, if it's back to school time, does your business somehow support that? If there's a period of time where university graduates are starting work, is your business helping people with that too? If you're a B2B business, is there a particular time where executives are seeking out your work? So being mindful of that too, tying it back to the core why, but always having your story rooted in the pain points and the challenges your audience has. And your why should be connected to that. If there's a disconnect between the two of those, you need to reevaluate your why and root it in what your customers and what your audience wants.
Awesome. And a great tip about the evergreen and seasonal content as well. And we can get more into the different types of content you can be creating. Kathryn, how about you? How would you strike that balance between, the brand and then also not too salesy?
Yes, I think, as Mariam said, starting with knowing your audience, but also knowing yourself, knowing your brand. Often you're seeing small businesses that have a long way to go in terms of figuring out who you are, going through that messy middle from when you're first starting out, sometimes in a little bit of a hurry, from where you've evolved to your stronger place, and knowing all of the strong messaging that resonates can be strong sales messaging, but it also could be a strong get to know you, reintroduce yourself to your audience type messaging, the types of things that when you say it, it just clicks in your target customer's understanding and they know a little bit more about you. So I'd say to start off by knowing your own brand and being able to tell your own story in a way that feels authentic, because you're a business. No one's going to be shocked when you sell, because that is how you help people and help organizations. What I'd like to talk about is the importance of providing value. And I often see questions online. I often see people who are getting started in business say, how do I strike a balance between how much I give away for free versus what do I put in a paid digital product? What do I put in a group program? What do I put in my one-on-one consulting services? Here's the thing. I have let go of any fear of if I am giving out too much for free. I put out more and more and more and more and more for free. And I've seen so much success. I have a long form lead product that is a free downloadable. Do a lot of free webinars as lead generation and a lot of things like that, right? Particularly as I'm in the nonprofit space, I'm using a social enterprise model to both make a difference in organizations that can't afford to hire me and also have a ton of folks see me as an expert. So then whenever they're looking for something, they come to me right away, and I'm almost creating my own space and positioning myself in a way where I'm the go-to expert. Breaking away from a place of being afraid of giving out too much value is honestly how you stop being afraid of being salesy, because what you say is absolutely transformative advice from an expert that folks are just so grateful to get for free. So say if you are posting several things in a row that are value add, and then you move into a launch, you can continue to post value add content, but that just calls to action to something at the end. And even when someone can't afford to buy that, they're still learning something and they're still building a relationship with you and seeing you as an expert. To address the should I be afraid of giving away things for free question more directly, I'll say something that I saw a content marketing expert called Osierra on Instagram post. She said that the difference between going through someone's social media and trying to learn from their posts one by one, their email one by one, the things they do for free, versus fully investing in a program or a service, it's the difference between, getting the advice all in one as a roadmap that makes it easy, beginning, middle, end, exactly what you should do, right? That's the paid service in some capacity. Or having that roadmap tear it up into 100 pieces where you get them out of order and you do get gems, you do learn, you get some incredible expert advice, but it's not exactly like lined up for you. People will not be afraid to pay for not just expertise, but expertise delivered in a way that is easy, that is comforting, that is sort of nurturing them through the process on start here, do this first, here's your foundation before you move on to that. Whereas giving away information for free with, say, downloadable frameworks, lead generation webinars, people feel just happy and excited to learn from you, but it doesn't replace like a done for you service or something that's higher ticket. So I think that particular framework let me, from OCR that mentioned the roadmap ripped up, it helped me get rid of any last fears on giving away too much advice for free. And I just turn up the dial and do more and more content marketing. And I've never seen anyone walk away from a paid service just because they were able to learn a little bit for free from me online. So that is how I, even moving from a nonprofit world where no one does any sales into the business world, have let go of any fear of being salesy. People want to work with me, and the amount of info that I give out as free content marketing makes no one even bat an eye when I post about specific services in a more direct sales route.
And I think it goes back to that, building trust with your audience and your customer base. And when you're putting out that sort of material for free, they are getting a taste of what it will be like to work with you if they are to work with you. And as you said, even if not, people are still being educated and they're still learning, and that's okay. But for me anyway, if I was, you know, following on your content, I know I would be building trust with you without even having met you one-on-one yet. So I think it's incredibly valuable to be able to give it for free for some things. Lindsay, I'll pass it over to you, maybe a slightly different perspective.
I love it. Well, and I want to start with the mindset of this. When we talk about things like our why, it's really important to understand your why. It's also important to understand your business's why, because your why and your business's why might be slightly different. For example, my why, I want to teach people how to use entrepreneurship as a tool to liberate themselves and others. How do we use entrepreneurship to actually impact change, positive change in our world? My business's purpose is to make money. And I think that we get caught up in our personal why. And don't get me wrong, you need a why. You need to understand your why, your values, your brand. That all is going to feed into the content marketing and your raison d'etre. But we sometimes feel bad or embarrassed or shame or guilt that our business's purpose is to make money. If our business doesn't make money, we can't achieve our why, right? Our business is our tool to help us achieve our why while also impacting our customer. So I think that's a really important perspective. You know, I see entrepreneurs all the time make it so hard for people to know what they can buy from you. And then, yeah, Kathryn, and then make it easy for them to buy. So we have to start with the assumption that if people are following you, if they're on your email list, if they're in your world, it's because they want to be there. So we have to make it easy for them to know what they like, how they can work with you, what they can purchase from you, and then make it easy to do that. And so through the lens of content marketing, that's where, much like Mariam and Kathryn said, we're using things like lead magnets. We're using things like content, right? Like on your content, are you directing them to a lead magnet? That's the easiest and softest way to bring them into your world, where through your lead magnet, you give them that experience of your products or programs or what it's like to work with you or use your products. But also you can then use the email marketing sequence, or sorry, the email sequence that goes with that lead magnet to further educate them about you, your purpose, and how to work with you. If you're creating blogs or YouTube videos, be constantly directing people to the lead magnet. Let the lead magnet do its job, right? So that's what I want to add to that. I hope that makes sense. I'm open to any questions around that.
No, thank you so much, Lindsay. And yeah, such fantastic, like, broad, different examples of, you know, how you can lean more into it. I mean, what I'm hearing overall is just like being more confident within you and your business and leaning into that sales aspect of it, but, you know, authentically and building trust with your audiences. Speakers, I'm going to switch the order of some of the questions just because of where our conversation is going a little bit, because we've talked a lot about knowing your target market and who your audience is. So can we touch a little bit on that, you know, like how can entrepreneurs better understand their audience, you know, that audience research piece, tools and other resources that they can use. Lindsay, maybe go back to you.
Wait, you have to re-ask because I was reading a comment. Can you re-ask the question, please?
No worries. Yeah, of course. All good. I want to touch on the like different tools and resources that audiences, or rather business owners, can use to better understand their audience. Oh,
do you know what? I'm going to throw that question to Mariam because I think she's going to have a better understanding because she does more of the analytics. My tool for understanding your audience is your voice, is a conversation, is Zoom. Okay, so I'll answer it in this way. Okay. The first 3 years of your business, I believe what I teach, your number one priority is networking. It's not content marketing. It's not creating a podcast, you know what I mean? And unless Your business is a content business. You are building a podcast because you're going to get advertisers and brand sponsors. You're creating a YouTube channel because you want advertisers, same thing, sponsors. If your business is a content business, then get creating content. But if it's not a content business, content is a tool, a marketing tool, networking. And by the way, also, you're still going to be networking as a podcast creator and a YouTube creator. You're still networking, but that's where you're getting up close and personal with your future potential clients, with other business experts, with collaborators, with people who will open doors for you. And so I think sometimes you can hear how impassioned I get around this. We hide behind our phones. We hide behind our computers. We're looking for some AI, some tech, some tool to do it. We're going to go read somebody else's market research and try to apply that to ourselves. No, we have to get in up close and personal with our market and also with other like collaborators and leaders in this space to really build that out. That's how you're going to get to know your customer. That's how you're going to design programs, products, services, whatever that they want. And that's where you're going to get the future content and the verbiage. So that's where I'm going to put it from that place. So in that case, tools are Zoom and your brain. But then actual tools, I want to hand it over to Mariam because I think she's going to have a more comprehensive answer around the logistics and technical side of things.
Yeah, absolutely. But before we do that, attendees, I hope that you listened to Lindsay when they said that. You are all in the room with each other at the moment, so please do connect with each other. I'm seeing people putting in their LinkedIn accounts, whatever social media you're using, ensure you're connecting with everyone that's in the room because you never know what can come from any of those conversations. Just wanted to double check that all of our attendees are going to be connecting with each other. Mariam, over to you for the kind of more technical data analytic piece.
Yeah, and thanks, Lindsay, for doing that. And I did want to address, because Katie, I feel your concern about the element of storytelling, but I think the point that we're trying to drive home is in order to develop meaningful stories for your business and stories for content marketing, you need to understand your audience first so that you're not writing stories or writing content based on assumptions that you have of what your audience wants to hear, but you're building it on research that is accessible online for the things that your audience might already be talking about. So to build on that, in regards to tools that you can use, I don't actually have like a suite of tools that are going to be accessible for you, but I have research methodologies, which are very, very simple and straightforward so that you can see how your audience is talking about. Again, the main thing I want people to think about is how is my audience talking about the pain point that they have that my business solves? That is where I believe you should be focusing your storytelling. So the stories that you're telling on behalf of your brand and on behalf of yourself and when it comes again to seasonal items or evergreen items. So when it comes to getting to know your audience, when you're first starting out, if you have even like 3 people who've purchased something from you, this actually aligns with what Lindsay was saying, hop on a phone call with them. Talk to them and ask them about, not specifically about your business. And these are also tips that I learned from Grow Class and Sarah Stockdale, who's just brilliant. Grow Class is an amazing marketing course that I took, and I encourage everyone to access it if they can. But when you talk to your audience, you want to ask them, when you're trying to solve this pain point, what did you do in the past? What is the thing that bothers you the most about this pain point? So let's say you're selling natural skincare products that help people that have like problem skin, for example. Instead of saying, hey, how would do you like my products? Like, are my products good? Because people are going to be nice to you and then they're going to say nice things. And then you're going to use that quote in your content and it's not going to be that interesting. Instead, you're going to ask people like, where would you usually go to solve this problem? Like with problem skin, what kind of skincare solutions have you sought out in the past? What has worked? What have you really disliked about the brands that exist out there? What have you really liked about the brands that exist out there? If this problem was solved, how would you feel? And then you take that language and then you use it to develop stories, or you might even find some stories from there. So you can say, when do you feel the most stressed about having problem skin or having skincare problems? This resonates with me because I've grown up with hormonal acne and have experimented with like a million products, which is why I have decent skin now. But one of the challenges I always had is like whenever I had to go get a photo taken when I was in high school, I hated it for that reason. So if a brand had a story, like a campaign around that period of time where people are like high school students are getting their photos taken or university students are getting their photos taken, and they came out with a campaign, not just saying like, look great for your photo, but do you want to look nice for your photo, but also like not destroy your skin by putting on like 5 layers of foundation? Check out our site, wording it a lot better. So, and if you are, again, and I said this earlier too, if you are the only audience member that you have right now and the only customer, try to develop content and write stories that you think are going to be interesting to your audience. So if I'm that skincare product brand, or I'll switch it up now. Let's say I'm selling like apparel specifically so I'm curvy. So maybe it's for certain types or certain body types. What is the challenges that you have when you go to a store? Do you want to have the option to actually look at different models when you're looking at clothing online? What kind of stories do you want to tell? How can you present that in a meaningful way? Use it based on your own experience and then share that stuff online, and then experiment. So you might write a piece like a blog post or an Instagram post, and then you're not going to get that much engagement on it. I encourage you to actually look at the data all the time. So all of these platforms have analytics tools. You want to check them on a regular basis. So if you're just starting to build your social media channels out and you're just starting to tell stories, experiment with different angles. So it can be as simple as putting together a Word document, saying this is the angle for the story I'm going with, and this is another angle. And then you're going to share posts that stick to one of those angles for a month, and then look at your data and then analyze it and say, well, did we increase engagement? Did we get new followers? Did more people start talking about our brand online? And then refer back to that on a regular basis. But the main thing is to talk to people. So if there are opportunities where you can actually go out into your audience, so going back to what Lindsay said with networking, are there markets? In Ottawa, where I'm based, there is a farmer's market, but there's also a lot of artisan markets where if you make something in Ottawa, and I'm sure this exists in cities all across Canada too, you can sign up. There is a nominal fee that you do have to pay most of the time. And then you can be present and actually speak with people in person and then find out how they're talking about why they came to your booth and why they actually wanted to use your product, and that use that language to share that story. So it's all about maintaining that conversation. And one other thing, which again is like my research methodologies, look at your competition online. So what platforms is your competition on? And this can be other small brands that are like yours, but it can also be really like, you can go for the big boys, you know what I mean? See like the big national brands or international companies, how are they talking about their business online? And for the bigger companies, what are people complaining about the most when they look them up online? What do they not like? And then you can use that to tell a story about how you are not doing that. You don't need to cite the company at all. People can make an inference if they want, if you want to be a little sassy, but you cannot refer to them whatsoever. And then you can also see what people really like about those other businesses. So using all of these things to actually see where your audience is, where they live, what they're saying about what they like, what they're saying about what they don't like, and then using that to continue to build a narrative that goes back to how your business solves your audience's pain points. I rambled on for quite a bit because I'm quite passionate about that. So I'm gonna stop now.
No, that's perfectly fine, Mariam. Thank you. And I really like the reframing of the different types of questions to be asking about your product. And, you know, like, just like shifting that mindset a little bit. I think that that's really valuable to just step back, other than being like, how do you like my products? And asking it in a more indirect way. So we've been talking a lot about content marketing, and I would love to get onto the storytelling piece. And so, you know, you're all storytellers, and I wanted to dive into, you know, your tips and tricks on how to strategically tell a story to, you know, then drive growth for business owners. So can you talk us through your process of storytelling maybe? And Kathryn, maybe I can go to you first.
Absolutely. I teach nonprofits how to develop messaging all day long, and I have used the same formula to market my own business. So I actually have a framework to list out. I always, when I'm creating some sort of message that is a core story for an organization, this isn't just a marketing post that you're putting up on some Tuesday to speak to your audience, but this is saying if you're developing a core story for your brand, how you were founded, why you were founded, why you offer your signature service. So I'm talking something that you are going to refine a little bit more, keep on hand, iterate, reuse, and really rely on as a core story. So what I'm going to teach is a bit of a framework here. I always write key messaging in bullet points because it forces you to edit it a little bit more than if you're putting it in a paragraph. First bullet is going to be an emotional connect. People react really well and are more likely to be persuaded towards your cause or towards your business when there's some sort of an emotional connect. I like Mariam's example of talking about high school and photos and skin. I would consider that to be some sort of an emotional connection point. It's relatable to open with that rather than leading with a whole bunch of stats and throwing a lot of dense information with people. Opening with an emotional connection point is really key in persuasion. In fact, the science behind it is that dopamine makes people happy and a little bit more likely to listen and retain information. So open with some sort of an emotional connect. Then on a second bullet, I would mention, what the problem is. Some people find that, and then you give a little bit of context on a pain point, right? On a third bullet, I would mention your solution. And then I would then go into why your solution is the best solution in a way that seems authentic. You don't need, it's not like it's bragging. It's just some casual information on why your services or your product, your business is really helpful, and then end with a call to action. So to repeat that one more time, it's an emotional connection, then introducing the problem, then introducing the solution, if applicable, talking why your solution is the best, and then ending with a call to action, like learn more on my website. Now, that was really formulaic. I am in no way saying that you can't deviate from that. That is just a formula to give you some sort of a place to start, particularly so you don't forget to add an emotional connection point and drop just too many facts and research and make it a little bit dry. I love what Lindsay just typed, which is learn the rules so that you can break the rules. Absolutely. So that's just a bit of example. I actually don't mind typing that out in the chat because I was giving a bit of a dense framework orally, and I will give that to you. It's just a takeaway that you folks can tangibly share, but then experiment, right? Save your core story and reuse it so that you're not rewriting it and coming up with it from scratch every time. You want to test what's working. Is this sentence working? Do people understand when I say accelerate your impact, or do they understand when I say fulfill your mission, right? Different ways of saying the same things you test gradually. And I really like the idea of repeatable core stories that you write down, you iterate on, and you become really comfortable with delivering. I would like to hear what the other folks here have to say though, on how they teach storytelling, because we all come from different backgrounds, and it's just amazing to hear what you folks have to say on content marketing.
I'm like unmuting myself so I can jump in. Can I jump in? Mariam, do you want to jump in? I actually have a question first for Kathryn, because one of the things that you didn't include that I would have included was a little bit about you and why you're qualified to do this thing.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's where you would incorporate your why. Yeah. Okay, yeah, okay, cool. I was just curious. Okay, so I love everything that Kathryn said. Yes. Oh, were you going to say something, Kathryn? Do you want to add on?
Nope, just that I'm so used to delivering that format for nonprofits that you really put in a good point on why you're trying to sell this thing to people. Absolutely, 100%.
Yes, I love that. So, and everything that Kathryn said, and same thing, I'm very much it's the ADHD, it's the neurodivergence. I like to create rules around these things to help save my executive function, right? So I get these rules and then I fill them out, but then I can break the rules, right? And it's okay to be kind of rigid in the beginning when you just start first telling your story, getting into storytelling. It's okay to feel a little rigid until you get comfortable. But what will happen, as Kathryn said, it will become automatic. You won't have to think. You'll just start formulating sales pages, emails, blogs, like advertising campaigns on social media. Like you'll just start thinking this way and formulating this way over time. I want to add the perspective of, okay, great. Now you have the bullet points. So what's next? How do I make this sound like a human and not a robot, right? And this is where I don't know about, I'm sure you two are the same thing. I'm constantly getting replies on my emails, on my content. Wow, I love the way you talk. I love reading your stuff. I can't wait. It's like you're in my brain. It's like you're talking directly to me. And that's because, again, depending on the tone of your brand, my brand is super cash. It's super it's just me. Also, I am known as tough love wrapped in sugar. I'm very direct, blame the tism. I'm very direct, but I'm not a jerk about it, right? And so I'll say things like, oh my God, entrepreneur or building a business is boring AF. I'll say that. I'm not beating around the bush. It's boring. The day-to-day work we have to do is boring. But there's something that resonates for people when you call things out that they're experiencing, right? So thinking of the tone of your brand, I like to think of it as if I was talking to a friend. one of the ways that you can get away being too salesy in this storytelling, in the things that Kathryn was just talking about, is write it, sleep on it, wake up the next day. If I sent this to my best friend, would they be like, "Ugh, Lindsay, what are you doing? Why are you talking to me like this?" So really think, how am I speaking in my plain language, in the tone of my brand, in a way that is relatable, right? Using examples. Always remember, facts tell, stories sell, right? Storytelling is, yes, facts tell, stories sell. Facts are the things that describe the thing. They're important, right? But who cares if we don't have the story to ground it? So how are you using examples, right? As Mariam said earlier, right? How are you sharing your, like, it's not just enough to be like, building a business is boring AF, right? Okay, so let's get a little more into that. Like, the day-to-day is so repetitive, it can feel like we're not making progress if we're new in this. Like, again, get into the storytelling of that, right? And then presenting that solution, right? So what is the solution? Like, potentially I'm selling my Get Ish Done Club, where we're in community getting stuff done together. So we can say, you don't have to do it alone. You can, there's a way to track your progress using this, whatever, I don't know. But just really thinking about how we are grounding these points that we're making in a story, and not being afraid to incorporate your solutions and why those solutions work, bringing in a client testimonial, that kind of thing, or customer testimonial. So just remembering that facts tell, stories sell. Remember to incorporate your why. Remember to talk in just whatever the brand tone is, but use that plain language and fun language and direct language. That's what I'm just going to add to that. Yeah, that's it. That was me rambling.
Oh, absolutely. It was nuggets of gold. I love that facts tell, stories sell. That is very easy to remember. Mariam, anything to add? I know that you kind of focus more on long form content storytelling.
Yeah.
So like different from Lindsay, who focuses on like the short form. And Lindsay, I can go back to you on that as well if you wanted to talk about creating that the more short form content. But Mariam, yeah, I just wanted to get your perspective on that.
Yeah, so specifically the element of storytelling in long form content specifically. Yeah. So when I'm talking about long form content too, and I'm talking about organic content marketing and storytelling there, I'm talking about content that it's not backed up by an ad. It lives on your website. It might live in an email that you're sharing, or it might live on a social media platform, but you likely haven't added funds to boost it or to get it in front of your audience, which is also an effective and helpful marketing strategy, but it works a little bit differently. So long form content can be things like a case study. It can be things like taking a testimonial or a customer story and turning it into a blog where you talk about the problem that a person specifically had, why they then sought out your business, and how your business helped solve that solution. Or it can just be a success story where you don't necessarily allude to the fact that your business supported them, but it's kind of implied. And at the end, you have a small call to action where the person can then sign up for your services. An example of a client that I've worked with on this kind of stuff, and I mentioned them earlier, is Grow Class. So brilliant course, marketing course. I took it myself, and then I was really excited to have them actually become one of my clients. And I got to support them with the development of some of the content on their blog. And it was also quite easy because I got to work with the founder, Sarah Stockhill, who's also a brilliant storyteller. So I really encourage you folks to follow her on LinkedIn because she does offer a lot of really great tips and a lot of really great formulas and templates. So if you folks are like, well, I just want to start and I want someone to say like, this plus this equals this, she breaks stuff like that down a lot and does a lot of analysis of content by other businesses, and then explains how it could be done better from a storytelling and content marketing lens. So just really want to encourage everyone to check that out. One thing that we wanted to do with the blog was to establish the cheesy term that Kathryn mentioned was Grow Class's thought leadership. So to say, why are we different from the other brands that exist or from the other marketing courses that exist? Now, if you go online, most marketing courses, they're talking about like, we're going to help you like 10x your email list. You're going to 100x your revenue by the end of the year. It's the language that we used at Grow Class was very like bro-y. It's kind of in your face. It's kind of aggressive. It's very exclusive. And it can feel like if I don't know the jargon, I'm dumb. So I should only speak in acronyms if I want to be welcomed in this community, which is not what Grow Class was about. Grow Class was about how can we educate people who might not have a traditional marketing background, or who are technically working in this space but might not call themselves that, or who are entrepreneurs but might not call themselves that too. So in the blog, we really wanted to make sure that our long form content, one, offered a lot of that valuable stuff that Kathryn was mentioning. So templates, resources that broke down typical challenges that people had when they were a one-person team. I know that's a lot of the people here, so check out their blog, and they're trying to build their marketing strategy. So how can you grow your email list? How can you start having meaningful conversations with your customers? How can you analyze your Google data with all of the upgrades that are happening? But all of it was presented with what Lindsay was talking about, a tone of voice that was true to our brand, which did have a sense of humor. We did put GIFs. I say GIFs. I'm sorry if you say GIFs. You know what I'm saying. It's like, I'm done. Lindsay's going to leave. But we imbued that stuff there too. And we wrote it from the perspective of a founder who was struggling with it. So it wasn't just saying, here are top 10 tips to grow your email list, but it was, you've been running your email list for about 2 years now. You've been having a really hard time growing your list. And every time you look at the data, you send out an email, you notice that 10 people have unsubscribed. You try to frame it that way and go, well, actually, why is it not a bad thing if you only have people who actually want to hear from you in your email list? What's the kind of content that you can write that's actually going to be helpful for people? Again, framing it within the context of the challenge that they have. And we also spotlighted a lot of our customers, so people who went through the Grow Class program, because a big thing at Grow Class was community and the fact that we are not like the other marketing courses. You are going to feel welcome here, you're going to grow your network here, and you can succeed. So we did profiles where they didn't even talk, like they might have alluded to the course in one sentence, but it was more about their personal journey. And they do allude to the fact that at this point, when I decided that I worked at a toxic job, I have these great skills, but I'm not advancing, so I have to start my own business. That's a story that resonates with our audience because that's a challenge that a lot of them have. So we'd publish that, and it was inferred that, well, if this person is sharing their story on the Grow Class website, that probably means that Grow Class is a legitimate avenue for me to pursue. I'm mindful of time, but do you feel like that clarifies how storytelling can be used in a long form way? Just want to make sure I do that meaningful.
No, that they were fantastic examples that you used. So thank you. Kathryn, I know that you had something to add. I'm not sure to whose answer, but I'll pass to you.
Yes, I want to comment on what Lindsay so poignantly flagged when we were talking about how to not sound like a robot, right? There's a lot of conversations going on in the chat on the rise of ChatGPT and pros and cons of using it in different ways, the ethics. I won't get into that right now. I'm just mentioning the robot issue. We had also talked about how you can start by learning certain frameworks, like the storytelling framework I laid out, and learning how to do that without sounding like a robot. And I have an answer to this, and it is to have a unique point of view, to develop it and to lean into it and to be known for your point of view. When you lead with your bullet point list of services, I deliver communications plans and I do message guides and I do this, it does not have the same trust building effect, the same personality infusing effect as growing a unique point of view. And sometimes that means being just adding a little bit of spice on what you have to say. Like, what industry beliefs do you have that run contrary to popular thinking, or what do you have to say that you're kind of unique in how you deliver that advice? What kind of spice can you sprinkle in your content? Developing your point of view is integral to being seen as a trusted expert in your field, and it's just the #1 tip to not sound like a robot, even if you're following a framework. Even if you're reusing the same content and messaging multiple times. And when it comes to ChatGPT, personally, it can be helpful. I personally use it for say brainstorming or helping to organize my own thoughts. And then I'll meticulously edit it because I know that my audience is not going to engage with something that doesn't have the same level of personality and expertise. But there's a lot of information out there on AI and GPT, pros and cons, how to use it. And for me, using it as a brainstorming tool to then write my own content steeped in my own point of view and expertise is what has gone really well.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Kathryn. I'm very cognizant of time. We have about a few minutes left. So speakers, I think maybe it'd be great to round off the conversation with, a piece of advice or one thing that, out of everything we've talked about, we really want our attendees to walk away from today so they feel a little bit more empowered, A, creating some content for their businesses, but also feeling empowered in the storytelling piece as well. So it can be a two-parter, I guess, if that makes sense. Lindsay, maybe can I go to you first for that?
Yeah, but again, I was deep in my thoughts. The two pieces again are what?
Yeah. So basically a piece of one piece of advice, if an attendee walks away with knowing one thing from today's conversation, what would you like for that to be?
Okay, so that's part one. Okay, so part one would be is that I have a pretty strong belief that you probably already are a storyteller. I think that your connection to it being tied to a business and generating revenue is potentially blocking you. So try getting into storytelling where you're not selling. Just don't sell. Just take selling off the table to take that anxiety and pressure off of you, and just focus on telling stories. Remember relatability. Use examples, you give context, share stories and experiences that the person you're talking to will relate to. Always have that transformation that comes at their side. What happened at the beginning? Like, where was the problem? What did you do? What happened? And how can they apply that to themselves? And that can lead me to, I guess, my last point, which is always give them something to do. Leave them in action. Right? Here's 3 things you can do to implement what I just told you, right? Give them something that puts them into action. It allows them to really see your brilliance and how much you're able to create transformation. As you get more comfortable telling stories, then you can incorporate a sales component, but just take it off the table for right now and just start with practicing telling stories. And I mean everything from a TikTok or reel to a blog to a newsletter to what your About Me page says on your website. Anytime you're writing, anytime you're creating, start using that format that Kathryn, the framework that Kathryn shared, and just get comfortable telling your story.
Thank you, Lindsay. Before I go to the other 2 speakers, because we are short on time, I'm going to launch our feedback poll while the other 2 are giving that piece of advice. So attendees, it'll pop up on your screen, and I would appreciate if you can answer it. I'm seeing some people wishing that this was longer, and I wish it was longer too. So maybe we can do a part 2 discussion at some point. So Mariam, over to you. One thing you'd like our attendees to walk away from today to feel a little bit more empowered.
Yeah, just start writing or recording videos and getting photos and just start posting. Like, just do it, get the content out there, to the point that Lindsay made earlier. And I think all of us are kind of singing from the same songbook here. Like, people are following you because they want to hear from you. People won't know what you're doing unless you share content publicly. So do it, get the stuff out there. And the part that I'll add is that's the only way you're going to know if stuff is performing well. So share content, do it regularly. It's okay if you don't follow a schedule, although that is, and I'm going to reshare the Google Docs that were shared earlier as view links. That's my bad. So hopefully all of you folks can see them now. But one of the things I have is just a content calendar. Just start, get stuff out there. And where possible, try to share the stories of your customers, because that's going to help you build a sense of community. But just do it. Get it out there. You're great. People want to hear from you.
Wonderful. Thank you. And Kathryn.
You won't get everything done all at once. It's a gradual process of building. It took me quite a while working on my first lead magnet. You got to learn Flowdesk or something comparable. You have to learn how to write a lead magnet, the amount of revisions it goes through, the design. And that's only one piece of content marketing. On top of that, you're building up your newsletter. Maybe you have a drip welcome campaign or a nurture sequence providing value. And then what platforms do you join? Do you make an Instagram account? Do you do a webinar? Like, I have built these things, but it has taken me ages. It has taken me a long time. And I'd say to come up with a plan that is bite-sized, that is reasonable, just getting started, but not feeling shame that you're not further along, because guess what wastes time and holds you back? Shame, even though we all have it, even though it is understandable and a basic human emotion. So I would say just have an expectation of taking one step at a time, testing, seeing what works, and being proud of where you are.
Fantastic pieces of advice. Thank you to each of our speakers. And yeah, this hour has flown by. I'm definitely going to try to do a part 2. Probably for Startup Women 2024, we'll have to go into more nitty-gritty pieces, because an hour is just never enough time. Thank you to Lindsay, to Kathryn, to Mariam for donating your time and your incredible wealth of expertise and knowledge today. I'm pretty sure our attendees have learned a lot. based on the feedback poll feedback that I'm seeing. To all of our attendees, we will collect all of the resources that were in the chat, as well as various other pieces of resources that our speakers will share afterwards as well. And it'll be added to our next Startup Women newsletter, which you will all be subscribed to since you registered. So everything will be put there, and the recording will be on our YouTube channel by tomorrow. So you can go back and watch if you missed anything. So thank you to our attendees as well for attending today. Thank you. Just want to again give a massive shout out to our co-presenting partners, the Scotiabank Women Initiative and UPS, and our program partners, EDC and Mastercard. And if you enjoyed this and want to attend another one, I would be more than happy to see you all there. We're going to be doing a webinar on how I raised my first 100K and what I did next. So this will feature 3 different women identifying entrepreneurs on their journey of raising and what they used that money for. So that will be happening September 27th, I believe, and we'll put a link in the chat. But thank you all so much. Thank you, speakers. Thank you, attendees. And I hope you all enjoy the rest of your Wednesday.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.